Welcome everyone. What is indeed a landmark publication event in history of Indian numismatics. We are very pleased to have a panel of 4 people to launch the recent publication of ancient Indian coins, a comprehensive catalogue, which is a massive effort and book published by Wilfried Pieper. And we are very fortunate to have the author himself and Pankaj Tandon, Joe Cribb, and myself. We will discuss certain aspects of the book, either with regard to its details or with regard to its contexts. So without much ado, I will ask Wilfried to start his presentations. Just guidance to the participants. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box and not in the Q&A option. Please note that all questions to be put in the chat box and not in the Q&A box. So I'll take them after each presentation from the chat box, and I will direct them to the speakers, and then the speakers can answer. Cool. So I will invite Wilfried to talk something about the book here. There we go. So Wilfried, the stage is all yours.
Thanks. Hi friends, namaste, hello, and welcome. We all have something very nice in common, and that's the fascination for the numismatic history of ancient India, for the coins and for the stories behind them. And that's of course exactly what my new book is about. So let me tell you something about it, and let me show you a few pics, maps, and coin images from it. To begin with, a short jump in time back to the early 70s when I went to high school. And that was a monastery led by Benedictine monks, and one of them was Father Kunibert. And this man had real passion. He loved drinking good wine, and he financed it by selling coins to us schoolboys. And the coins he brought with him from his regular mission trips to India. So each time he returned, he had new coins to offer. Phanams, rupees, paisas, with elephants, with lions and bulls and all kinds of symbols. And I was absolutely fascinated and bought what I could and brought it proudly home. And my daddy looked at the coins and he shook his head. But then he smiled and he let me do. And I continued, and somewhere on the way, I turned off to the real old things. And of course, I started to have a look for books on the ancient coins. And quite soon, I had 2 of them, which became my favorites. Number 1 was Oriental Coins and Their Values, written by my hero, Michael Michener, to whom I'm most grateful for providing me with each and every image I needed for the present book. And book number 1 was a famous catalogue by John Allen about the ancient Indian coins in the British Museum. With both books, I was very happy, but in the course of time, new and ever new coins surfaced. Some or many unpublished, others discussed in diverse journals and specialized books. So today we have a good number of publications, but still, when it comes to attributing your coins, you have to search through widely scattered information. So the need to bring everything together is definitely there. And my contribution to it is the comprehensive catalogue. The initial idea for the book came from Dr. Maheshwari and from Professor Handa. Next to Michael Michener, Devendra Handa has always been another of my numismatic idols. His knowledge and his generosity are enormous, and the book benefited greatly from the rich image files he made available, particularly the part on the tribal coins of northern India. My deepest respect and gratitude go to him. The same applies to Dr. Maheshwari, father of the Temple of Indian Numismatics, the Nashik Institute. Kamalesh Kumar Maheshwari accompanied all steps in the development of the book with his numismatic knowledge and with his expertise as a publisher. In the end, our work on the book was quite a long journey together, Kamal, but a very enjoyable one. Thanks for everything. At first, the idea was to do a slightly modified version of my earlier books, Ancient Indian Coins and Ancient Indian Coins Revisited, the former book, a co-production with my close friend, Osman Babirachi, leading expert of Greco-Bactrian and Indo-Greek coins. But both books comprised only the coins from my personal collection. So something more extensive, at best something covering all main types of ancient India, would of course be much more useful and more attractive. So a lot of stuff had to be gathered, even if I decided to limit myself to the silver and to the base metal coins. Altogether, the book is structured in 19 chapters, starting with the early silver punchmark coins and with the early cast coppers. So, I'd like to share the screen now. Sorry. Takes a moment. Should be okay now. Can you see it? Yeah, okay. For the punch-marked silver coinages, detailed catalogues exist. Gupta and Hardacre for the Magadha Maurya coins, later completely revised by Terry Hardacre, who recently also presented a survey on all non-imperial punchmark coins of northern India. Illustrated is one of the earliest coins of Magadha, according to the Gupta Hardacre attribution, series 0 type. For the Saurashtra and Surasena coins, we have Anupantav's catalogue. Here, one of the small silver types from Saurashtra coins, most of them coins of a very high artistic standard. This one depicts a large fish surrounded by a number of diverse symbols. And a scarce variety of the Surasena coins, usually depicting the fish over lion type, but here the fish is replaced by a row of symbols above the animal, and the animal itself looks much more like a rat or a mouse than like a lion. And then we have Paul Murphy's book for the Kosala coins and Shinji Hirano's book for the so-called Narhan type coins of the Gagara Gandak river system. This one being an example of the latter series, the so-called Narhan type coins. This is the main punch, a curved linear symbol surrounded by a good number of unofficial punches, among them a prominent chakra or wheel symbol. And then Prashant Kulkarni is preparing a catalogue of the local Deccan types. Here a coin from the Umrah hoard found in Nagpur district with a flower in a square, an elephant, two bulls yoked to a plow with a very clear depiction of the plow as well. Very nicely done on the coin. And an arrangement of 3 baby elephants in a Triskalis-like placement. So, all in all, most punch-marked series are meanwhile well covered, and so I decided to limit myself to representative samples for each series of that chapter. Of the early cast copies of Mauryan and early post-Mauryan times, certain types enjoyed a wide circulation throughout large parts of northern India. Coins like this Elephant Hill type or this Elephant Rider variety, while others of the early cast copies were rather local with very limited areas of circulation. An example being this uniface bull type from northwestern India. In the respective chapter, the early cast copies are divided in those from northern India and those from the Deccan. Chapter 3 covers coins from loosely defined regions of central and western India. Many specimens here are far from being precisely attributable in view of their anepigraphic nature and in view of the uncertain find spots. Such types hail from Malwa, from Saurashtra, and from Khandesh, which is a scarce type from Saurashtra with a multi-headed depiction of Shiva on the obverse and a frog depiction on the reverse. And here an unusual variety from Khandesh with an elephant walking above a river symbol with fish and tortoise, and the reverse having a 3-arched hill symbol enclosed in an open cross, quite characteristic reverse emblem for Khandesh region. Khandesh with Prakashe on the banks of the river Tapi is closely tied to Western Malwa with many typological coin links. Central India and ancient India in general was crisscrossed by a network of traffic and trade routes, many already constructed under the Mauryas, a famous example being the Royal Mauryan Highway running from Taxila down to Pataliputra. A very busy hub in central India was Ujjain. All roads led to Ujjain and away from Ujjain, to Erich on the banks of the Betwa River, to eastern Malwa with the important urban centers of Iran and Vidisha, to Tripuri, to Maheshwar, which was the ancient Mahesmati, to Prakashe, to Nashik, Broj, Yunard, to most parts of the Deccan. The local Ujjain coins exhibit a rich symbolism, providing glimpses of information about the life conditions of the people back then. We see, for example, water construction, tanks, rivers, canals, reflecting the importance of water, the need to keep it in reservoirs and to use it for irrigation. By the way, this coin has a legend, a very clear legend, starting with a legend part Si Da To, thus clearly correcting the earlier reading of this type as Ratimadana. We see bull depictions again and again, evidence of the bull's vital role for human society and for its close association with Hindu god Shiva. The elephant's grandeur and noble character impressed people throughout the ages. On Indian coins, it stands for royal authority, and for mythological reasons, it is adored by Buddhists, by Hindus and Jains alike. Think of Maya's dream of the white elephant, or think of Indra riding Airavata when defeating the diverse demons. And then we have the outstanding position of the lion in Indian art and culture, exemplified by the national Indian emblem, an adaptation of the lion capital of Ashoka at Sarnath near Varanasi, which is crowned by 4 lions standing on an abacus, decorated with a frieze depicting elephant, horse, lion, and bull. But something special, something that is increasingly appearing in post-Mauryan times, particularly on the local coins from Ujjain, are human depictions. They are of special interest for the iconographic development of the early Hindu deities of Puranic Brahmanism, indicating the way to a more personal form of worship, a kind of departure from Vedic Brahmanism that focused on sacrifice but excluded icons and images of gods. The earliest such depictions on coins can be dated to the 3rd century BC, like this Mauryan Kashapana, but they are only few. The images are simple, the attributes frequently unspecific. Different gods could carry the same attributes. For example, Danda and Mandalu, the water pot, making an identification of the respective deities ambiguous. Here a few examples of Vaishnavite deities with more obvious identifications. For example, here we have a quite clear depiction of Vasudeva Krishna holding the club and the chakra in his raised arms, chakra, club, or Balarama Samkarshana holding pestle and plowshare in that hand. When deities had to carry a larger number of attributes, the depiction of multi-armed deities came up. But apart from a few early examples, this was a later development with an increasingly regulated and codified iconography. This is a coin from Panchala, with probably the earliest numismatic representation of 4-armed Shiva, with his arms branching off at the height of the elbows, carrying chakra, conch, probably his club, and a simply designed flower, which may be expected to represent a lotus flower. The tripartite high crown, the kirita, is comparable to the turreted crown of city goddesses in Gandharan art. Cult rivalry is described in the ancient texts, but some of the early coins also give clues to such cult rivalry, with the supreme position of Vedic Indra passing to Hindu Shiva, against such rivals as Vishnu and Brahma. On this spectacular coin from Jan Lingen's collection, we have the earliest depiction of ichthyphallic Shiva, and at the same time a pictorial representation of the disempowerment of Brahma. Shiva is triumphantly holding the cut-off head of Brahma in his raised right, while holding the water pot Kamandalu, originally a decisive attribute of Brahma, in his left. And another beautiful depiction of Shiva on a local Ujjain coin, with a piled up hair in a shell-like pattern, representing the Vatamukata hair form of Shiva, a prominent dot, probably indicating the third eye of Shiva. Altogether, it is a haggard figure with his thin arms holding the stick in his right and with his left gripping the neck of the water vessel. This image of Lord Shiva is that of a beggar, not that of the powerful destroyer, thus rather accentuating the ascetic yogic nature, the yogic nature of the Lord. And this is a three-headed Shiva depiction, also from local Ujjain, with Mahadeva face, Shiva's Mahadeva face in the center, with a feminine Uma face on the left, and the terrifying Bhairavata face on the right. The city-states of the Narmada Valley, Vidisha, Iran, in eastern Malwa, and Erich on the banks of the Betwa, were all prosperous urban centers with impressive local coinage. This is an example of a city type from Vidisha, with a wheel or chakra on obverse and Brahmi legend Vidisha on reverse. An anepigraphic benchmark from eastern Malwa, Vidisha, Iran region, with the punches distributed on obverse and reverse, which is rather unusual for the series. Mostly the punches are all on one side and the reverse is blank. A horse punch, a six-armed symbol punch, an Ujjain symbol, an Indra Vaya, and the river at the bottom. And this being a lead coin from Erich, with the Brahmi legend Muga Muke, probably a place name in the region, and a frog and a steelyard on the obverse. A steelyard, an interesting instrument for business transactions, for weighing coins and metals and so on, reflecting the intensive trade activities in these urban centers. Guilds were very powerful in such urban societies. Sponsoring activities are well known in that certain guilds donated to religious institutions. This was regarded as meritful. It increased the social prestige, and it was of course intensively recorded in form of votive inscriptions, such as the Buddhist stupa inscriptions at Barhut and Sanchi, recording donations of corn dealers, of goldsmiths, of ivory carvers, and so on. A lasting material testimony of power and influence of the guilds is the money they coin. This is unequivocally clear in places like Taxila or Kaushambi, but elsewhere, Nigamas or Shrenis most probably have also struck their own money, even if this is not explicitly stated on the coins, like in this case. This is a guild coin from Taxila with the Brahmi legend Nigama above the steelyard. Nigama meaning belonging to a market town in Prakrit language. And another interesting aspect of urban life on the religious level, cults that favored social flexibility prospered. Artisans and merchants, however successful, were assigned a low social status by the Dharma Shastras, the normative Brahmanic texts of the time, and such people frequently turned away from Hinduism to Buddhism, or they turned away from orthodox forms of Hindu worship to more flexible spin-offs. Post-Mauryan northern India makes a big chapter in light of the many independent states which had developed parallel to and subsequent to decline and collapse of the Mauryan Empire. While Taxila was the dominant power center of the Upper Indus, we have the large kingdoms of the Ganges Valley, centered around Kaushambi, Ayodhya, Mathura, Ayachatra. And we have a large number of lesser dynasties of the Punjab and other regions with rather limited coinage, such as the Pauravas, the Kulutas, Trigatas, Rachaniyas, Sudrakas, and so on. Among the diverse Punjab tribes, some followed the Indo-Greek model in striking pure silver drams, among them Audumbara, Kunindas, the Vimakas, or the Vrishnis. This is a Vimaka type inspired by an Indo-Greek type of Apollodotus, but transformed into an Indian context. We have Nandi on reverse and Shiva's trident battle axe on obverse, revered by an elephant who is holding a parasol above it. The legend reading Bhagavata Mahadevasa Raja Raja. Many of these clan-based tribal communities claimed descent from legendary Kshatriya heroes. Vasudeva Krishna, celebrated hero of the Vrishnis, was one of them. His worship took on Celtic features, developing into the influential Bhagavata cult, which included Vasudeva, his elder brother Balarama Sankarsana, and Vasudeva's son and grandson. Their followers revered these deified Vrishni clan heroes as the holy Panchaviras, and special attributes were assigned to them: chakra, conch, lotus, plowshare, Makaradvaya, and others. The famous Agathocles drams from Taxila region, datable to about 180-170 BC, give a detailed image of Vasudeva Krishna and his brother. The former with chakra and conch, and the latter Balarama Samkarshana with pestle and plowshare, dressed in a skirt, a scarf thrown over the shoulder, a peculiar form of headgear that had first been interpreted as a large crest of a helmet, but later rather seen as a parasol, and this being the headdress of the king of Vasudeva Krishna and of Balarama Samkarshana, with tassels hanging down from a turban-like headdress. And here is a simplified version from Khandesh depicting Vasudeva Krishna holding a large chakra and wearing a very similar headdress as his counterpart from northwestern India. With these tassels hanging down from the cap, like a harlequin-like cap. If there is a parasol on the top as well, like on the Agathocles drams, cannot be decided from this coin. It's not clear enough, but it's quite possible. In a gradual syncretistic process, Vasudeva Krishna merged with Narayana, a deified Brahman sage, and with Vedic Vishnu, a solar deity of the Vedic pantheon, into the new Hindu god, Vishnu. Coming to the Kushana, their hold on northern India was long-lasting, stopping or interrupting many local coinages for a long time, but also exercising a formative influence on others. The catalogue comprises the silver types of the diverse UHC clans. Illustrated is a coin of Pulages with its name in Greek, reading Pulages. Then the copper coins of the Kushana kings, a Kanishka type with seated Buddha Maitreya, his right in Abhaya Mudra. Then we have the diverse Kushana-inspired local types, Kushano-Sasanian coins, the Punjab Kota types, and also certain Han types. This is an example for a Kota type with seated Nandi, the conjoined character Kota Bala with a la out of land here, Kota Bala, and a very unusual placement of the Shiva's name Rudra with a Ru below the Nandi and the Dra on the other side. Of the Han types, the catalogue considers particularly those of Toramana I and his son Mirakula, both kings who had made extensive forays deep into India in the early 6th century. This is a coin of Toramana I with a Sri in front of the king's bust and the legend Torah below a wieldy depiction of the rivers. Leaving northern India and crossing the Narmada southwards, we enter the Deccan, a region also intensively shaped by trade and exchange with important market and production centers, and in their wake an increasing number of religious, mainly Buddhist, centers and monasteries, especially in the coastal regions where trade activities were most intense. Due to the geography of the Deccan, traffic and trade routes mainly follow the west-east direction. For example, from Ujjain to Amaravati, or from Brigukacha or Parigaza, a major port for the Western Sea trade, to Amaravati. Whereas international trade, long-distance trade and big business was carried out in gold and silver, the local markets relied mainly on base metal currencies. Lead was easily available as a natural resource in the Deccan, which may have been the reason for its popularity as a coin metal in this region. The focus of the respective chapter is thus on such Deccan lead coin dynasties, such as the Mahaboyas of the Konkan region, the Banavasi kings with Ananda ending names, the Kuras of Kolhapur, the Kumaras of Karhat, the bull-type Marathis of Chandravali, elephant Marathis from the lower Tungabhadra or from the Verapuram region, horse-type Mahatalavara coins or horse-type Hiranyaka coins, and the lion-type coins from the Sada kings from the eastern coast. The Vidarbha chapter starts with certain punchmark coins, typologically still close to Mauryan Kashapanas like this piece, but soon the coins develop into types with more specific local features. A prominent local depiction is an arrow placed above the back or on the back of an elephant, or the arrow is placed on a railing or on a platform, or it is adored by elephants in Abhishek scenes like on this coin. When it comes to inscribed coin types of Vidarbha, we have the Bhadra and Mitra kings from pre-Satavahana Eastern Vidarbha. This being an issue of Indama Bhadra, we have river types, river Bena types. We have Bhadravati city coins, the Brahmi name of the city on top, and Sibaka and related types from Western Vidarbha and Marathwada, plus a number of diverse enigmatic types from Marathwada and Khandesh region, with king names of which we know next to nothing. The chapter on the Satavahanas and their successors presents exemplarily the main Satavahana coin types, giving an overview of the regionally very different types from Malwa down to coastal Andhra, including, of course, the silver coins with the wonderful portraits of the Satavahana kings, coins which enjoyed a wider circulation throughout the Satavahana realm. This being an issue of series Satakanisa, Vasitiputrasa, or Siri Pulumavisa, Vasitiputrasa, Shiva Siri Pulumavisa, Vasitiputrasa, and this is a coin of Gautamiputra, Jajna Gautamiputra. To some extent, post-Satavahana 3rd century decline in trade activities appears to be reflected in the coins that tend to become smaller and lighter, like those of the Ikshvakus. Abira territories in eastern and central Deccan fell to Kadambas and Vakatakas during the 4th century, while the northern Konkan was overtaken by the Trikutakas. Chapters 10 and 11 present Pallavas and Vishnu Kundin, and also the Vishnu Kundin inspired types from western Maharashtra. While chapters 12 to 15 move to the southern tip of India in presenting the Sangam age Tamil coins, the Malayaman Cheras, the Kolas, the Pandyas, and also the ancient types of Sri Lanka. The book concludes with Paratarajas, Shaharatas, Kshatrapas, Guptas, and finally certain post-Gupta coinages. That was a very quick flipping through the book, but I think you got an idea. A lot of dynasties, a lot of coins, more than 3,700 altogether. Putting them together has only been possible because of the help of so many kind and generous people, with the intention of increasing the numismatic knowledge of all of us. People like Amit Lomate, Daulal Yori, Mitresh Singh, Prakash, Yanyu Rajesh Nair, Raman Sankaran, Akshay Jain, Amit Udeshi, Ranjan Yadav, Jan Lingen, Susmita Basu Majumdar, Sharat Sharma, Chetan Rajapurka, and many others. It was also a great pleasure to discuss diverse topics with friends like Yogesh Vapuri, with Hoshidar Gaswala, with Govindraya Prabhu, or Gautam Yantaka. And special thanks go also to Amanur Rahman for the warm welcome in his house in Dubai, where I was given the opportunity to study a large hoard of local Taxila coins. To Badri Prasad Verma for so many rarely seen Kaushambi coins, and Girish Sharma for his important Central Indian collection. Avinash Ramteke most generously shared detailed information about his incredible Vidarbha treasures, and Shailendra Bhandare made his Satavahana thesis, including all pictures available, a huge help in cataloguing the tricky coinages of ancient Deccan. And finally, Ramasabu Krishnamurthy, who granted me access to hundreds of Sangam age coins of South India. I will keep him in grateful memory forever. Sadly, he is no longer with us, as are Terry Hardacre, Paul Murphy, and Anne van Huff. They all never hesitated to help with advice and with any desired coin image. And we all will never forget any of these generous and warm-hearted personalities. Towards the end, a word on a movie. My personal association with Lost in Translation is, of course, Scarlett Johansson, but she's immediately followed by Harry Falk. In questions of transliteration and translation, I could always count on his expertise in ancient Indian scripts and languages. Sincere thanks, dear Harry. And then there are my three wonderful comrades in arms, Pankaj Tandon, Alex Fishman, and Sanjeev Kumar, who each contributed a chapter to the book. Pankaj knows more about the Paratarajas than anyone else, and it was a great pleasure for me and a great benefit for the book that he agreed to do the respective chapter. Sanjeev Kumar is the well-known author of the new standard work, Treasures of the Gupta Empire, and Sanjeev's contribution to my book became a wonderful survey of the silver and base metal coins of the Gupta kings. And if one thinks of the Kshaharatas and Kshatrapas, one thinks immediately of Alex Fishman, author of milestone publications on the subject. Have a look at Alex's chapter in the book, and you will surely share my pleasure. And finally, I talked about this and that, and also about some animals. There are many reasons why we should love and respect animals. One of them in this context is they never criticize our books. criticism is certain to come from the readers, but I'm confident that pleasure and positive reactions will prevail. Right now, I can only thank you very much for your interest and for the great approval the book has received so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilfried, for such a wonderful overview of the book, and I'm sure none other than you could do it so well. Tribute. Well, here we are at we've all the panelists have made their presentations, and many thanks also to the attendees who sort of, I could see that were about ranged from about 90 to 70 at various points of time. So we got a fairly excellent, fairly good response to our announcements. I would like to pass it on to Hardik Parekh of Falcon Galleries, who would like to say a few words for saying thanks. Over to you, Hardik.
Thanks a lot, Shailen ji. It was a great pleasure to have you all here. And for some of them, I might be meeting them for the first time. But the job of spreading the book and the book reaching each and every collector is my job. We try to put it on all social media and all the websites and also visit various exhibitions and try to pass on the book and make it available to each and every collector. And our focus is that even if a person has a single ancient coin, then he should definitely buy the book and go for the book. So I would like to thank Wilfried Pieper ji for writing such a wonderful book. And I was inspired by the first book that was written by you, Ancient India Revisited. And I wanted that a book like this should be there and should be published in India. And we were the people who took a step further and approached K.K. Maheshwari ji that we have to take this book and pass it on to everybody, any collector who's wishing to learn more about ancient coins. So thank you for writing this book, and it's really a piece of work. Thank you, Cribb ji, for being a co-host and giving such a wonderful speech. I would also like to thank Pankaj Tandon ji to give a wonderful speech, and K.K. Maheshwari ji to always support us from the back end. Even though he's not able to speak here, but his support is always there with us, no matter what. And yeah, that's it from my end. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being a part of this webinar. Back to you, Shailen ji.
Well, I mean, thanks, Hardik. All I can say is repeat the thanking words, and all the best to Wilfried and all the collectors. Times are still not very conducive, but everyone keep well, keep safe, and see you soon in the wonderful world of Indian numismatics. Okay.
And
bye-bye.
We should also say thank you to Shailendra for his hosting.
Thanks a lot.
And for his
his
very inspiring presentation as well.
Yes.
Thank you. No problem. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks, Dilip. Thanks, Dilip.
You.
Okay.
Thank you all.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.